Hello, Unity on the Lake Shore. So great to see you again. All right, let's get this party started. Let's wake up our bones and start grooving with this opening song.
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Close your outer eye and feel your heart open now. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. To see you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing holy, holy, holy. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes. Yes, open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. Oh yeah. I want to see you. To see you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Just pour out your power and love as we sing holy, holy, holy. High and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing holy, holy, holy. Deep breath in. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to see you. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy,
Good morning, Unity. I am Patrick, and I am your host for today. Mark Anthony is out of town at a retreat. And so we want to thank Amy and Jesse for that wonderful music, as always. And today we have a great guest speaker, Reverend Darrell Jones with Soulful Living, a two-part spiritual talk series. And he's here now, and he will open up with prayer for us.
Good day, everyone. Let's begin by centering our time together in prayer. If it feels good to bring hands to your heart, I invite you to do so and welcome a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, if it feels good to close the eye, do so, or at least drop your attention away from the screen and welcome your awareness to that heart behind your hands. Feel that heartbeat, feel that life essence that I recognize in this moment to be the vitality of the divine itself. That God, the ever-present, ever-giving, ever-living presence is right here, right now, as my life and as your life. As the life of Unity on the lakeshore, but whether we be on the lakeshore or some other place, listening in, what I affirm and know is that right here, right now, today, this service is a special concoction, if you will, that the Spirit of life is working to conspire for your highest and greatest good. That there is something in the music and the words today that your heart, mind, and spirit needs to hear. So I bless our physical body to feel safe and relaxed. I bless our mental body to be open and our inner and outer ear available to receive and hear what we need to hear today. May it go straight to the heart behind our hand, to the heart of the divine, where we are connected. So may we connect deeper now as this service. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Darrell, for that. I so love good prayer from Reverend Darrell. We will be having a Zoom hangout afterwards, after service. You can find that link in the chat and also on our Facebook page and website. So please join us for that. I am doing a few things here, so stick with me. Unity on the Lakeshore is a non-denominational spiritual community anchored in loving acceptance. If you're here for the first time, please know that whoever you are, hold on one sec, I want to get this graphic. There we are. Whoever you are, or wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. So a few things that we always do. Please join me in speaking our mission statement. You'll see that on this slide here. We embrace all people and honor all paths to God. We create a sacred space to raise the awareness and consciousness of the one spirit in us all. We anchor ourselves in affirmative prayer, forgiveness, generous sharing, and loving community in service to our spiritual awakening. Now we are going to do our affirmation of faith. There is only one presence and one power as me and as the universe, God, the good, the omnipotent. And now Reverend Darrell will lead us in meditation.
Thank you, Patrick. So we're centered in prayer. Now let's get centered in meditation. I invite you to find a comfortable position wherever you may be. If you're seated in an office chair like I am, then let your feet be flat on the floor, but maybe you're on a couch, maybe you're seated on the floor. Just find a posture where you can come into some level of stillness. And take a nice slow breath in through the nose. Blowing out through the mouth. Excellent. 2 more like that. In through the nose. And blowing out. In through the nose. And as you exhale, if you haven't already, let the outer eye close. If it doesn't feel comfortable or safe to close the eyes, that's totally fine. You can meditate with eyes opened or closed. If you choose to keep the eyes open, then find a neutral spot to focus, as opposed to the screen where there might be things moving around. Maybe it's a spot on the floor or the wall or the edge of a desk or table. And today we're going to do a guided practice of scanning the body, getting present to how we feel in the moment. Not to feel a certain way or make anything specific happen, but just to get into relationship with the body that we are in right now. Let your awareness come to the soles of your feet, whether they're inside shoes or in socks or slippers or footloose and fancy free, nothing around them. Just notice how your feet feel. Take a nice slow breath in, giving awareness to the feet, the heels, the toes, the arches, and slowly move up now through the ankles to notice the shins and the calves, the knees, with another slow, gentle, easy breath in and out. Let your awareness come up through the thighs to notice the quads, the hamstrings, the inner thigh, the outer thigh. Bringing awareness up through the pelvic floor, the hips, the gluteal muscles. And just notice the lower half of the body. If there's any unconscious lifting or squeezing, see if you can soften just a little bit more. Letting awareness now come up through the abdominal wall, the lower back, through the chest, up the spine to the shoulders, and down the arms, past the elbows, all the way to the fingertips. And once again here, with all the kindness you can, scanning this area of the body, not looking for something to be wrong, but noticing if there's any lifting in the shoulders, squeezing in the abdomen or the chest. See if you can soften, loosen, let go. A rich breath in and out, bringing awareness up through the throat and neck to the back of the skull, all the way up to the top, the highest point of view, the crown. Moving forward to notice the eye sockets, the cheeks, the jaw, the tongue, letting the tongue relax to the floor of the mouth, unhinging any clenched jaw, softening any squinting eyes, lifted eyebrows, letting gravity help smooth everything out. This is the vessel. This is the body of the divine known as you. Relish a moment of stillness in the divine. An easy, gentle breath in and out. 2 more like that to close our meditation. Breathing in and out. And one final peaceful, loving breath together in. And as you exhale, lifting your eyes open and your attention back to our screen time together, bringing your centered presence to today's service.
Restore to me the joy of my salvation. Take me back to where it all began, where all I ever wanted was your presence. How I long to be there once again. Light a fire that the world can't burn out, fan the flame till nothing between us remains. My life is an altar to you. Breathe again on the embers that burn in my heart. Love taken back to the start. My life is an altar to you. Now renew in me a pure and willing spirit. Take me back where it all began. Oh, before it all became so complicated. How I long to be there once again. Light a fire that the world can't burn out, fan the flame till nothing between us remains. My life is an altar to you. Breathe again on the embers that burn in my heart. Love, take it back to the start. My life is an altar to you. Holy Spirit, give me vision like I've never known in this moment. In your presence I have found my home. Light a fire that the world can't burn out, fan the flame till nothing between us remains. My life is an altar to you. Breathe again on the embers that burn in my heart. Love, take it back to the start. My life is an altar to you.
What a beautiful way to start. Wonderful music from Amy and Jesse, and a wonderful meditation with Reverend Darrell. I'd like to just introduce him. We've known Reverend Darrell for quite a long time now. He was part of our spiritual center in Chicago with Bodhi. And his bio is Darrell Jones is a minister, spiritual director of Soul Gym, author and mindfulness coach who brings 20 years of personal practice and over 15 years of professional experience inspiring, teaching, and coaching individuals, spiritual communities, and business groups to begin and maintain a life of spiritual practices to deepen connection with life. Darrell published the heart of his work in 2021 with the book Soul Gym, a manual to connect mind, body, and spirit for soulful living. And I'm going to put the link to his book in our chat. And I'm excited about welcoming him into the studio. Hi, Darrell.
Hi there. Thank you so much, Patrick.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, good day, everyone. It is a joy and honor to be here celebrating today's service with you. I will do my best to keep our time reasonable, but it's easy to get excited as we get into these spiritual ideas. I'll have to say before I formally begin, it was back in 2003 that I first met Mark and Patrick. And prior to meeting them, I was in a stage of what the effing. I was trying to figure out my life. What things didn't seem to be working the way that I had expected them to. And I was looking for something to help me navigate it and enter the Bodhi Spiritual Center. It was so much a home that I literally quit my job and work and dove fully into that community. And in working there, and eventually going through ministerial school and launching my own ministry, I discovered within myself some of these principles of life that are very, very powerful. And that's what I want to bring forward with you all today. I'm really excited. This is a rarity. Usually when I come in, I call it substitute teaching, to a pulpit to speak for a Sunday. It's just one Sunday, and we get to spend the next 2 Sundays together. And I'm so excited because we get to really unpack some ideas here. And the basis of it is this idea of soulful living. Today, in part 1, we are going to focus on peace and purpose. And I really want to thank as well Amy and Jesse for the lovely music, just that idea, the words, the language of, to make ourselves an altar to the divine, to make our life an altar. That's what we're going to talk about. Peace is not a reward for having life figured out, right? It's not this destination that we get to. Peace is the ground from which clarity, wisdom, and right action can arise. When we are disconnected from our inner peace, we react instead of respond. We rush, we overthink, we say things that we don't mean. We move from fear and habituation rather than from divine guidance. But when peace becomes our starting place, when we are grounded and anchored in peace, something powerful shifts. We listen a little more deeply, we choose more wisely, and we live more truthfully and what I like to say, soulfully. Today, we're going to explore how cultivating inner peace and reconnecting to your God-given purpose creates a steady, grounded way of living, even in the midst of uncertainty. And the gift is that this actually makes the world a better place. It benefits you without any doubt. But as we bring peace and purpose into the world can only be better. My intention for you today, though, is to experience peace not as something distant or abstract, but as a present and accessible spiritual and actual reality, moment to moment. From this place, purpose becomes clearer, not as a pressure to perform, but as a natural expression of who you are already in God. So last month, Mark told me that you all focused on one of my favorite books, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And just to come back, because I like frameworks, those four agreements are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. To say yes and agree to those four things is truly a framework that helps you navigate life. Today, I want to introduce another framework through my book, through what I call my ministry, Soul Gym. And it is a manual to connect mind, body, and spirit for soulful living. Now, it's not a big book. You can see here that it's kind of thin, right? But it is not thin in purpose. It is not thin in what it offers. It is basically a manual that says, if you want to live soulfully, which for me, if you look at the cover here, there's spirit, mind, and body. When we have our spirit connected to our body and our mind, when those three come together, they converge and soul is in the middle. And we have this experience of living soulfully, where life is vibrant, where we experience passion and excitement and joy and so much more. That book came about actually from working with Mark and Patrick here in Chicago years ago. I went through training to become a spiritual practitioner, where I could sit with people after service and pray with them and do some spiritual coaching and help them navigate life a little bit better. But I realized an interesting thing was that people week after week after week would come back after leaving service or a workshop or a class or maybe a one-on-one session with me with kind of the same story, the same problem again and again and again. And I started asking people the question, well, what are you doing when you go home? And they're like, what do you mean? What am I doing when I go home? I go back to my life. I go to work. I do the things I have to do. I go to my family, whatever it may be. I said, no, what are you doing to practice what we've kind of talked about today? Because usually there's this high moment, right, in a service where you just get inspired and you're like, yes, the music moved me, the message moved me, or you're in a workshop and you get that core lesson that you were meant to have for that day, or you're in a session and there's like that, ooh, that little sliver of awareness, that insight, that aha. What do we do to stay connected to that? And this is what sparked Soul Gym. The idea that just like our physical body, we must exercise our spirituality. It is not an intellectual notion. It is actually something that we need to practice. And so if you know going to a gym, it's a place where you work out. It's a place where you stretch, where you become more agile, where you become strengthened. What if we brought those principles to our spirituality, right? If we brought it to our living, that we do some sort of regular exercise to strengthen our capacity, to strengthen our agility in life. And that birthed Soul Gym and actually the work that I do. I believe that we are all on a soul journey. You are on your personal soul journey, and yet we are all on a soul journey together. In this together soul journey, I believe that we are in a very significant paradigm shift right now. Towards the end of the 19th century and the early and middle parts of the 20th century, we shifted from an old paradigm where country, clan, tribe, village, family, that was like the central focus of how we made decisions about life. And we shifted from that group space to the individual. And basically since the late 50s, definitely 60s, 70s, 80s to the present, we have been more grounded in personal importance and personal significance than we have with the group. And now we find ourselves coming back to that importance of country, of tribe, of clan, of village, of family, of our communities. And the interesting thing is that the paradigm shift, I believe, is that we're not going back to what was back in the 1850s. We're trying to find a new way in the midst of still having borders, in the midst of still having regions and lines of delineation. The paradigm shift is, how do we balance it all, right? How do we actually live in community and still be a powerful individual? How do we live in community and have our very specific personal beliefs, choices, and not feel threatened by another individual or another group who may live and look at life in a different way? The old paradigm is that the way we navigated that was through dogma, right? You believe this, this is right, this is wrong. But that doesn't really work, because then we get into this weird power trip then, and we feel like we have to push our dogma or our rightness or our wrongness on someone else in order to know safety, in order to feel connected, because that's ultimately what we all want. And so this enters in here the 4 P's of our soul journey, or there's 4 P's of Soul Gym that I've been playing around with for the past few years. Just like the framework of Don Miguel Ruiz, the 4 P's are peace, purpose, passion, and persistence. Now, this is not a linear progression. It's almost more of like a cycling loop, a spiral. And the premise, the basic idea here is that we must find peace in some way, shape, or form. If there isn't peace within our bodies, within our minds, think about our nervous system for a moment. And there's a lot of work happening with this today. My wife is a holistic physician. There's a lot of work happening with this in the mental health space, in the emotional health space, in the physical health space, and definitely in the spiritual wellness space. That our nervous system, if there isn't some peace in our nervous system, if there isn't some peace in our mind, in our body, and in our spirit, then we don't really move into the world in a whole way. We are moving into the world more than likely from fear, from a space of needing to protect ourselves. So to practice and to really embrace being in some space of peace, then we can feel a sense of safety and remember our purpose, why we're here. If we are at peace, then our purpose naturally rises up. And when I say purpose, it's really interesting. I've been working with some individuals this year. I'm sure in your community, if you haven't done this specific practice before called visioning, maybe you've done a vision board. And a lot of people confuse vision with goals. They're very, very different. Your vision can incorporate your goals, but your vision is not about succeeding in executing and manifesting something in particular. I believe our vision is more about our purpose, why we are here. Our purpose is timeless. Our purpose actually lives on beyond our own physical body. Our purpose has little to do with recognition. Our purpose has little to do with performance, with pay, with money, with titles. Now, all of those things can come along with our purpose. All of those things can be augmented by our purpose. The purpose that I have been walking around with since way back when I first met Mark Anthony and Patrick, my purpose on the planet is to love and be loved. What does that look like? It doesn't look like one specific thing. Moment by moment, to remind myself of my purpose, that I'm here to love, and I'm also here to be loved. If I am not in a space of peace, if I'm in a space of fear, it is really hard for me to remember my purpose. So today, my hope is that at the end of our practice, at the end of our time together, you will have a greater felt sense of purpose, but you will also have peace, and that the two of those start to float through this week. And then next Sunday, we get into passion and persistence. But quickly, once we have peace, once we have our purpose, then passion, the zest for life, the fun, the excitement, then it's there. But oftentimes we try to get to the passion. We want the excitement. We want the little hit of fun. but it's not sustainable. It's not authentic because it's not connected to our purpose and our passion. It's just some transient thing that floats through. What if you could experience passion? And I'm not talking about like the passion of, romantic lust. I'm talking about the passion of life, the passion for remembering that I'm a living expression of God, whether it's Tuesday or Saturday, whether it's 8 a.m. or 8 p.m., whether I am folding the laundry or I'm giving a presentation at work. I'm passionate about living right now. And then the persistence for me is about staying in practice. This comes back to the fundamental philosophy of Soul Gym, that if we aren't doing something to exercise and practice our spirituality, then we kind of fall back into default mode. We fall back into rote living. We fall back into habituation, which isn't a bad thing. However, oftentimes we want something else in our life. We want something bigger in our life. We want something more in our relationships. We want something better in our body and in our life and relationships. But if we don't persistently exercise and stretch ourselves, most importantly towards self-awareness, then when we fall back into that habituation, we fall back into patterns that just create more of the life that we already have. And that's not a bad thing. The life that you have is awesome right now. But I would imagine that there's something within your heart, within your mind, within your spirit that is saying, hey, let's stretch a little bit more. We must stay persistent in our practice of peace and coming back to our purpose if we are to live passionately. I have a few quotes to anchor us in the idea of peace. The first comes from Robert Fulghum. And he said that peace is not something you wish for. It's something you make. It's something you are. It's something you do. And it's something you give away. So oftentimes we have what I like to call conditional peace. If you think of conditional love, I'll love you if, right? I will know that love is present when. If we have that same relationship with peace, that we're waiting for certain conditions. Now, there is the peace of the world of form, like no war, right? There have to be some conditions that are met in order for there to be no peace, and that is no fighting. But the peace that we're talking about here is not based upon external conditions. It is something that happens internally. Peace is something, as Robert Fulghum says, something that you make. And here's the thing, it's something that you make, but it's not something you have to protect, because peace is eternal. It's something that you can give away. It's something that you can bring into life. And as a result, it benefits not only you and your nervous system, it benefits everyone's. When you make peace with yourself, you make peace with the world. And this brings us a little bit into the relationship with this paradigm shift, right? We went from peace being found in the group to peace being found in ourselves. And we went so far inward that we lost connection with our fellow humanity. Now we're trying to bring it back into the world, but it requires us to be at peace in ourselves. When you make peace with yourself, you make peace with the world. And then this quote from one of my favorite teachers and mentors, Wayne Dyer. Peace is the result of retraining your mind to process life as it is, rather than as you think it should be. And right now, my friends, there is a lot of shoulding happening all over the planet. We are shoulding each other sometimes to death. Now, are there things that we can say are anchored in values, in light, in love? Yes. But if we can't have some sense of peace in our own wellness as we are and make peace with life as it is, instead of what we think it should be, then we get into that conditional space where we will say peace will happen if and when that person likes me. We will have peace if and when that law goes into effect. I'm not saying don't stop kind of fighting and raising your voice for the things that you think are important in life. But if we go over the edge too far and thinking that I have no life. I have no sense of peace. I have no sense of self until that happens. Then we get into trouble. So what is it that Wayne Dyer is talking about here? Peace is the result of retraining your mind to process life as it is rather than as you think it should be. Enter the word capacity. What I believe in the Soul Gym, in all of the spiritual practices that we do, we are trying to raise our capacity to live life. The analogy that I like to use, I do a lot of corporate work, training individuals, organizations to help them understand how they can better calm their nervous system through practices like meditation and other mindfulness-based techniques. That we aren't trying to change anything outside. We're trying to build this internal capacity. And the analogy I like to use is brushing your teeth. It's something that everyone does every single day for a few minutes, multiple times, at least twice. Sometimes we may do it 3 or 4 times, depending upon what we've eaten for lunch. But the bottom line is we aren't trying to get to some perfect place. We are doing the practice to raise and increase the capacity of our oral wellness to handle the stress of eating and drinking what we consume. That's it. That's it. What if we brought that idea into our spirituality? That we aren't trying to get to this magical Zen place. We aren't trying to get to some place where we transcend and don't care about anything. We actually want to care about life. We do care about life. But what if we can increase our capacity to be with life as it is? This is why peace is a practice that we ideally do every single day. We connect to a sense of peace. We remind ourselves that we are safe where we are. We remind ourselves that God is good all the time in this moment. And then, oh, so what's my purpose from this peace? I'm here to love and be loved, or whatever your purpose may be. And then we step out into the day. So in this paradigm shift we are in, living from purpose is more important than ever. So we get anchored in peace, and we're going to do that in just a moment with a short little meditation. We did one earlier. We're going to close with a meditation and prayer. When we live from purpose, we are living from our values. And I'm not talking about the political values that we all weaponize against one another today. I'm talking about the values that we find everywhere on the planet, regardless of any of the personal or collective identifiers that we may use, like name, age, gender, race, sexual orientation, generation, political party, and more. Everyone values safety, trust, sufficiency and abundance, love, acceptance, and more. If we can live from those as a purpose, when we live from that individually and collectively, instead of by rules and dogma of right and wrong, we have at the center of us the wisdom and guidance to live with anything and everyone. To go back to Wayne Dyer's quote, we can live with life as it is. We can still have expectations, but from our values, from our purpose, we're able to accept because we are okay within our own skin. To navigate our days from purpose instead of protection would be a huge paradigm shift as we come back together living in community. And I believe it would truly make the world a safe place for us all. Another great quote actually comes from Mark Twain. And he says, the 2 most important days in your life are the day that you were born and the day you find out. When you connect to your purpose, oh my gosh, it actually makes everything more. It is what creates the rainbows and unicorns that we want and look for and strive for and try to find outside of ourselves. You've already checked the box of one important day you were born. Have you found the reason why? And I think there isn't a singular reason why. We have different seasons in our life where we have a purpose may shift a little bit. But from the spiritual sense, I would say that all of us have the purpose of knowing God as our experience, period. When we remember that in our heart, oh my gosh, it is powerful. So what are the practices for peace and what are the practices for purpose? I believe that they are meditation and prayer. They are not the only practices, but they are profound ones that, from the sense and idea of having exercises and practices that we can do on a daily basis, like brushing our teeth, that raise the capacity for us to be in and handle life, to begin our day with a few minutes of meditation, to bring our hands to our heart and affirm to ourselves that I am the peace that the world needs. I am the peace that I need. To sit in that stillness is such a powerful thing. The great mind and philosopher Kierkegaard once said, the function of prayer is not to influence God, but rather to change the nature of the one who prays. So when we sit in peace, and then we get into affirmative prayer, where we can really speak to or even just declare, may I find my purpose in this day, O God. That prayer, that statement, that declaration, that affirmation can right us out of some of the drifting that we may do. And you may already do this. I just had a client with a session yesterday who is a seasoned practitioner. They're actually a minister themselves, but was feeling a little bit of lackluster. And what they realized was, even though they were in their regular practice every day, it was becoming rote. And so they needed to shift something. So my challenge for you today, as we come to a close in this talk, is if you're a seasoned practitioner and you pray and meditate every day, then mix it up a little bit. When I used to teach in-person meditation at a studio, whenever someone would come in and they were a seasoned practitioner, but they were yearning to kind of get back to that excitement and zest that we often find at the beginning of things, I would literally tell them to change their physical body posture. Most of the time when we sit in meditation, we assume a position that's comfortable. We assume a position that's familiar. And if we just change it a little bit to maybe it's a position that we've done before, but it's less familiar, then we find our awareness heightened in the moment and we're present in a way that maybe we haven't been in a while. This is why we get into the exercise every day, not for it to be a rote thing that we do, but to bring awareness into the moment. Let's do a quick 3-breath prayer and a treatment together to bring today's talk to a close. And we'll see what peace and purpose you can find in your week as we come back next week to talk about passion and persistence. Bring your hands up to your heart and a nice slow breath in through the nose. As you exhale, let your eyes close. Let these next 2 breaths be the slowest breaths you've taken yet today, breathing in peace, breathing out peace, breathing in peace, breathing out peace. And from this peace, I remember the purpose that we all have together on this planet. As spiritual journeyers together and practitioners of the divine, we are here to remember that all is well, that the purpose of our life is to see the divine in ourselves and one another, even in the faces of those that we don't understand, maybe even in the faces of those that we don't like. What I affirm and know for all of us today is that the divine is present, that God is alive, awake, aware, and enthusiastically expressing as our lives. May we remember this in the easy times and in the hard times. May we practice with definitive persistence this week, every day, doing at least 3 breaths of peace and saying out loud, my purpose is to know the divine as this day. This is what I say yes to for all of us. May we practice it well. May we be persistent in it. And may we find peace and purpose everywhere we turn. And so it is. Amen. A nice deep breath in. As you exhale, opening your eyes, thank you so much, you all, for your time and attention today. I wish you peace and purpose until we connect again.
Thank you, Reverend Darrell. Oh, that idea of 3 breaths of peace is something I'm going to take into this week. Thank you, thank you, thank you for that. Now is our time of giving, and we'd like to do the saying that we do, the affirmation of faith. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am thankful. And we are very thankful. We're very thankful for your contributions. It's very crucial for us and important, and a way of giving back. And there are a few ways to give. We have an option to give through Venmo, which is on the screen. You can simply scan the QR code or use our name, Unity Lakeshore. The next is the text to give. You can send the word give to 616-236-5205. That's 616-236-5205. If it is the first time giving this way, you'll receive a link with instructions. If you have given before through text, then you can simply just text the dollar amount to this number. You can also give online through our website at unityonthelakeshore.org/donations. And for those watching, I've put the link in the chat. And as always, you can do regular mail, and that address is Unity on the Lakeshore at P.O. Box 848, Douglas, Michigan, 49406. If you're in need of support, there are a few ways to receive that. First is to email us at unitylakeshore@gmail.com. You can also phone the office. We have a new phone number. It is 269-534-7700. And there is always the Unity silent prayer line that is 24/7. And that's at 816-969-2000. And if you haven't liked our Facebook page, please do that. That's a good way of connecting and keeping informed on what's going on, and also to go to our website and join our email list if you haven't done that as well. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/Unity Lakeshore. So that's our Sunday service. And now we'll close with our Amy and Jesse again with Let There Be Peace on Earth.
Thank you, as always, for having us, Unity Lakeshore. So grateful to connect in this way, grateful for the technology that allows us to do so. Let's sing one last tune as we head out into our week with peace in our hearts and sharing that peace with the world.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be with God
this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And we always say the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. I've put the link for the Zoom Hangout. We're going to just meet and connect, and join us there. See you soon. In about 5 minutes, we'll go to the Zoom link. All right. Happy Sunday.